Look, we are about to start today's webinar. There'll be people trickling in. We have got quite a large attendance today, and I really appreciate everyone's support in joining, and hopefully we can share something useful with you to learn about improving Zoho. So just a couple of things, guys, before we get started. We will kind of split today's webinar into kind of two sections. I'm joined by one of our newest team members here at Ardento, Indy. Indy's going to take us through a little bit of warm up around reporting and analytics in Zoho CRM. That'll kind of be the first 15 minutes or so. And then I'm going to take us through the bulk of the webinar through the Zoho Analytics platform, which will be a much more in-depth and advanced session around all things Zoho Analytics. We are recording today's session, so if you have to drop out or you couldn't attend, we will make sure that our people receive a copy of the recording so you can view it later, and then eventually it will make its way up onto our YouTube channel. And lastly, guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We will do our best to answer them, but we've got quite a few people in attendance today, so if we get lots of questions, we might run out of time. I'll do my best to answer them as we go, and then we will follow up if we can with any of those questions as well. And I will respect everyone's time. We love to keep our webinars on time, so we'll try and finish within the hour or just before. Enough of that then, let's get started. So welcome guys, my name is Sam Daines. I'm the CEO here at Ardento. For those who haven't met me or seen me somewhere online, we have been a Zoho partner for a decade now, since 2015. And we work with businesses all across Australia, New Zealand, and internationally to help them make the most of Zoho software. And so today's webinar is all about reporting and analytics. And if you are a Zoho user, new or veteran, no doubt you are always looking for ways to make more useful details of the data that you have in Zoho. So one of the most common questions that comes up when we're working with businesses and in the terms of reporting and analytics in Zoho is the question of where do I start? And that's really the catalyst for today's webinar, is to help empower you to understand a little bit more about where your options are to report within the Zoho ecosystem and where to best put your efforts when reporting. Definitely thinking about which applications are best to start your reporting journey in. I think that one of the strengths, but also its subsequent weakness, is the breadth of Zoho and the fact that there are so many applications and so many different use cases that this in turn can be somewhat confusing when you're starting about your reporting journey. So to start us off, one of the earliest piece of advice I'd like to share with you guys is that if you are looking to report within Zoho, I would always start by thinking about the application that you're working in initially and begin your reporting journey there. So Indy's about to take us through some stuff in Zoho CRM, and I'll hand over to her in a moment. But if you are, for instance, wanting to report on Zoho Books or Zoho Inventory, then you should look for the reporting within that application. If you are looking to report on Zoho Campaigns or in Zoho Projects, then starting your reporting journey in that application is the most logical point. And then for all other reporting or anything that's more advanced, then of course we can leverage the powerful business intelligence tool, which is Zoho Analytics. I'm going to take you through that in the latter part of today's webinar. So with that in mind then, Indy, I will hand over to you. You can share your screen and take us through reporting in Zoho CRM.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Indy. I'm one of the business consultants here at Ardento. Today I'll walk you through the Zoho reporting reporting and analytics feature in CRM. So let's start. Before we start creating report, we should understand why we need to create a reporting when we have a data with ourselves, that is raw data. So the very first reason is the raw data itself is not quite useful. So we need to create reports to change number that into insights that could be helpful for us. So that's the reason, one of the reasons. Other one is that raw data cannot help you to make any decisions for your business. In order to make data-driven decisions, we need reporting, and we create reporting within the Zoho CRM. So these are the main reasons. Next is when. when we should create reports within the CRM. And the very first one is when you know that your report is only need basic functionality in it, basic, no complex data we are going to use, and the only source we are going to use in your report is Zoho CRM data. And other, there are few things before you create any report you should keep in your mind. So the first one is what is your end goal, what you are trying to achieve from the report, so that you should know that before. Other one is who is your audience. So the audience is here, the report is going to be viewed by whom, and it could be a department based, could be sales department or a finance department. So you should make sure that who is going to use this one. So where is your data in the CRM? Understand your data relationship that uh, the tables have in the Zoho CRM. We will talk about this in a moment. Let's break down the strengths and challenges of the Zoho CRM reporting. The first, we understand the strengths that Zoho CRM reporting has. The first one is it's allowing you to create a report by combining one or two modules. So here the tip is try to use as less you can use the modules. So it could be one or two in order to have a accurate results or a right report at the end. Other one is whosoever have a access to the Zoho CRM, the users of the Zoho CRM can easily view that report. So that's another strength of this one. The third one is drill down to the CRM records. User or a viewer can drill down, can navigate to the particular record of that report. Fast to create, it's a very quick one. You don't need to have any technical knowledge to create this. It's a real time reporting. Once you set it, forget it. You no need to wait for the synchronization for a few hours. So it's a real time live data. On the other side, we do have few weaknesses. Let's see what are they. So we can only pull data from the Zoho CRM. So that's a limitation of this one. We cannot give a much styling to a report, cannot deal with custom calculations. We have to choose one of the predefined functions only. The last is if you know that your data has any complexity in it. So this is not the right right reporting tool for you. Let's dive in and start creating a report. So here you can see the reporting module. This is one of the existing reporting module of the Zoho CRM. Here you can see all the inbuilt reports, the very first screen. Let's start creating one. The report I'm going to create one today is going to be to show you the number of deals we have per stage. So here on the screen, you can see it's going to ask you what would be your primary module. So here you need to understand the data hierarchy that Zoho CRM follows. So I'm going to choose account as my first or a primary module. Contacts under this as a child module of this one. It is asking you whether you need all the contacts that are linked with your accounts or not. So I'm choosing all. The last one is deals. And again, I'm choosing all the deals. So see this is a natural hierarchy of the Zoho CRM: accounts, contacts, and deals. So it is kind of a one-to-many relationships. An account can have many contacts, account can have many deals. So you make sure choose the right primary module before you start creating it. So once you click the continue, you can see the preview columns of the report. What we need, what we want to include the columns in a report, we can do that just by clicking this edit button. I am choosing only three columns: account name, contact name, and deal name. You can even search from here. So these are the order of columns of my report. So next you can do, if you want to do the row grouping, you can do that from here. So I'm doing it based upon the deal stage. So you all can see it is now showing you, it is basically segregating the data. It is showing you the number of deals we have per stage. You can also do column grouping. That depends on the requirement of your report, but it's gonna look like this. I don't need it, so I'm removing it. To add an aggregate column, just click on this one. You cannot create your own functions. You have to choose one of these. I want sum of amount. So this is how my report is going to look like: stage, account name, contact name, deal name, and amount. And we do have a grand total of that, all the deals as well. Other quick thing you can do it here is adding filter. You can add filters. It could be date based, like closing date. And other one we have, it's like going to advanced filter, which is going to work as a where clause, where you can give the stage is equals to closed one or anything. But I'm not choosing any. Because I want to see all the deals. So I'm not setting up any filter here. Once you're done, save it, give it a name, number of deals per stage, and choose the right folder. So I'm choosing deals. It will help you to maintain your data. So once you've done this, you can see here three additional functions of these one. You can clone the report just by clicking this. As an example, if it's your master copy, if you want to share it with other one, you can make another copy of that and share that one with your another users or colleagues. And the other one is you can export this report, and it will give you the few options of the file format and also detailed or format report. That's just number of records you can export. The last one, the cool feature of this one is send this report as an email. You can choose your template and choose the recipient emails here. You can send it now as well as you can schedule it for later. Just choose the day and time, and you can do it for later as well.
Oh, looks like Indy had some technical issues, guys, and she's just dropped off. That was unfortunate, Indy.
Okay.
That's all right. I think you might have had a glitch there. Do you want to just reshare your screen and you can finish up that last little part?
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, you're all good. You can carry on from there, Indy.
Okay. So last thing is that we can directly create a charts from here. So the chart, it is going to create based upon the measuring and the grouping. Grouping is the same that one we choose in our report. So that is a deal stage, and record count as a on the y-axis as a measuring. So I'm choosing the same bar chart type. You can choose, depends on your data. So this is the chart which is showing us the number of deals we have on per stage. If you want to add this chart to your home tab, you can do that just by clicking the add to. So this is all about reporting, but the one thing you can see here at a time on your screen, you can only see one report. But what if you want to see or want to bring multiple reports on a screen? So the next module we have called analytics, where you can, which allow you to bring multiple reports on a same screen. So how you can add that? So you can just add by quick chart. So we are creating chart to see number of deals we get per month. Module, deals. I'm not going to choose any related module because I just want chart based on my deals only. Closing date by month. So you can see two charts here. The one is number of deals per stage, other one is number of deals per month. So you can give it a name like a deals dashboard where you can bring all your deal reports. So once you've done it, to make it look nicer, we can resize it just by clicking the reorder. You can bring the chart you want to on the top of your screen. Just save it. And if you want to add the charts from here to your home tab again, you can do that just by clicking add to home. On the home tab, you can see the number of deals stage. And if you want to bring this chart on the top again, you can do that from reordering this one. Let's bring this chart on the top of our screen. All right, so that's a quick run through of the Zoho CRM reporting and analytics feature. Hope it gonna helps you all. And now Sam will give you the detailed version of the Zoho Analytics. Thanks again.
Amazing. Thanks, Indy, for that and running through what was possible there in the Zoho CRM reporting. I'm just going to reshare my screen now, guys. Only a few more slides. I promise it won't be death by slides. Um, so the, the main message, guys, when thinking about reporting, and I think just kind of leveraging off back of what Indy shared with us, is that if you are looking for reporting based on the CRM or CRM centric data sources, then starting in the CRM is a really great place, and the reporting functionality within the CRM is getting better all the time. So it's definitely worth exploring that CRM dashboard options there. Likewise, I mentioned at the start, if you wanted to report on your finance data in Zoho Books or your project data in Zoho Projects, then the logical place to start is exploring those reporting tools that are native within that specific Zoho application. However, for everything else, you really want to explore Zoho Analytics, which is the much more advanced reporting tool within the Zoho suite. Few slides to get us started here, guys. So what's the strength of Zoho Analytics? It's definitely an advanced reporting tool. So it's a tool that's going to allow you to create much more complicated reporting, much more detailed functional reports, both from a tabular format, a pivot-based format, or a visualization charting format. All of the advanced BI and reporting tools are available inside of analytics. So it's, of course, it's not limited to a single app, and that's really kind of the go-to reason here is that it can extend beyond just the CRM and it can extend beyond any Zoho application. You can connect it to even applications and data sources external to Zoho. You've got more advanced formatting, more advanced themes, more advanced formulas. All of these things are at your fingertips there. And you've also got distribution options, just like Indy showed. You can choose to publish and share your Zoho Analytics dashboards via email. You can embed them in other websites. There's a white label option, lots of distribution options available here in Zoho Analytics. There's also embedded AI, and the AI is always getting better in the Zoho suite. And I'm definitely going to wrap up today's webinar with some showcase of some of the AI features inside of Zoho Analytics. So make sure you stick around to the end for that. No software is perfect, so we do have some weaknesses. Zoho Analytics is no exceptions. There's no getting around this, guys. It's a more technical application. I'm going to walk through a lot of the functions today to hopefully get you started if you've not experienced Zoho Analytics before. But it is a more technical application, and there is going to be a steeper learning curve when picking up Zoho Analytics. It's not real time, and this is something that is one of the biggest drawbacks of Zoho Analytics. It runs on a synchronization schedule, so depending on the data source, you may be able to get your data into analytics on an hourly basis or a 3-hourly basis. Zoho is always working to improve this and make it closer to real time, but as of right now, you do not have the ability to report on real-time data inside of analytics. So there is going to be a slight delay between when you enter data in your source system and you see it in the analytics platform. Obviously, there's licensing considerations too, guys. So depending on the Zoho subscription that you have access to, you may or may not already have access to Zoho Analytics. If you have Zoho One, you do have access to it. If you have Zoho CRM Plus, you do have access to it. There are a few other bundles. Otherwise, you may need to license Zoho Analytics separately. Alrighty, let's just jump straight in and have a look at the software. So I'm sharing now the Zoho Analytics window. I'm sure someone will yell at me if they can't see my screen properly. But the first thing to consider in Zoho Analytics when you launch the application is you're going to be presented with a home screen similar to this. Zoho Analytics has a concept called workspaces. Now, workspaces represent the data sources within analytics, and that is where your reporting and your dashboarding will be contained. So here I've got a collection of different data sources. I've got one here being Zoho CRM with some demo data in it. We can see here that I've got my dashboards and my reporting and so forth inside of this workspace. Now, something to consider with workspaces is they are insular, meaning you can't do reporting across workspaces. You need to stay within a workspace to do your reporting. And workspaces are where your data sources are connected. So if you want multiple data sources within a Zoho Analytics workspace, you need to connect them all within the same workspace, and then you can begin your reporting journey. To get started by importing your data, you can simply click the Import Data option here, and you will be presented with a long list of possible data sources. As you can see here, that Zoho Analytics provides many different data sources. Lots of them are not necessarily Zoho. For instance, Xero. Connect this to Xero all the time. If you use Xero as your finance system and you want to do some reporting, you can connect that. You can use a competitor CRM. If you want to use HubSpot and do some Zoho Analytical, you can. But of course, while we're all here is the fact that you can do all of your Zoho reporting within Zoho Analytics. So we can see here the various Zoho applications that allows us to connect it. Once you've established the the connection to your data source, you will go through selecting the schedule of how often it's going to run, and you can establish the creation of that, and then you will be set up with a workspace. So you're going to see something like this. And you'll have a menu down on the left-hand side here, which represents the various areas inside Zoho Analytics. A really great starting point, though. I always recommend that people go and check out the Data tab. And you'll see these yellowish kind of icons here, right? These represent the various tables of data that within your data source. If I had multiple data sources, I would see those listed under here. For instance, I could have Zoho CRM, I could have Zoho Forms, I could have Zoho Projects, all within the same data source. Now, when you look at a raw table, I'm going to click on invoices, something different here. This is the raw data in your data source. If you are unfamiliar with the data source, it's always worth just jumping into the raw table, just getting a feel for what that data is. Is this the data that you are going to be reporting on? And of course, this is really critical when building reporting in something like Zoho Analytics, is understanding the source of data, understanding what is in those raw tables. So here we can see a collection of invoice data, and we've got a few options here. Of course, I can search for the data, and I love this. If I wanted to search for a specific invoice number, I can kind of just start searching that data directly in my table here if I wanted to, just to validate what I'm looking at. Perhaps we might want to format a table of data here. So I've got a couple of fields here related to time and date. You can see that the columns are denoted with a little icon that represents the type of data. So obviously we're looking at a date here. It's going to be a date format, but I can right click on this column heading and I can go down to format data here. And I can actually modify the formatting of the data source here. So I can do that by choosing one of the predefined data formatting choices. For instance, maybe we want to include a time here, or maybe we want to make this look a little bit more like an Aussie date here, with the day, month, year with the slashes. I'm going to click that format type here and click OK. And this is now applying that formatting to my column. When I do my reporting now based upon this, that formatting is going to come through. This is a cool feature because you're actually creating a transformation of the data. You're actually manipulating the data, but only for the purposes of reporting. You're not affecting the source of data. I'm not manipulating my fields in CRM, for example. It's only within analytics. Another great feature we leverage all the time here at Ardento is the ability to add formula columns. So this is something that you cannot easily do in Zoho CRM, for example, but you can achieve in Zoho Analytics. So if I wanted to take a column of data and apply some sort of formula to it, I can do that in my source table and then use that in my report. So for instance, I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to say like modified date plus 2 days, just as a an example. I've got to build out my formula here. So I need to choose a function. If you're familiar with something like Excel or you've explored any kind of reporting or analytical systems before, you may be familiar with some of these formulas. I'm just going to go down to date and I'm going to go add date. Just a simple formula that adds some days onto a specific field. Zoho Analytics describes these functions fairly well by using the tooltip. I can see here describing what the add date function does. I'm going to just click that and drop it into my formula editor here. So now I'm going to use the add date function, but I need to apply it to some data. So I'm going to apply it to a column. So I'm going to apply it to the modified date, and I've got to put in the parameter of how many days. So just 2 days is going to get added onto my modified time. So I'm taking the modified time and I'm adding 2 days. This can be used for anything. This could be adding 2 fields together. This could be breaking a string apart. This could be just extracting the days of the week from a specific date field. Lots of options with formula fields here. I'm going to hit save. Let analytics do its thing. Over on the right-hand side now, we have a new column in my invoices table, which is modified date plus 2 days. My modified time field still exists, still represented as it should, but now we've got a new date field over here. And of course, I can apply formatting. I can do all of that here as well. So formula fields are a really great feature here to be able to kind of create some more sophisticated calculations directly in the source of the data before we start building our report. I want to talk briefly about queries. Now, this is by far the most technical aspect of Zoho Analytics, and it's beyond what we've got time to go through today, guys. But you can establish the creation of complex queries using SQL language to construct a data source that joins together tables, forms programmatic functions on the data, and output some transformed information here. This is code. So we are using SQL, transact SQL language here to do select, join statements to join together different types of data. This is something that that Ardento team can help you with. We often create queries for people so they can build their own reporting journey, but this just indicates the level of sophistication that Zoho Analytics provides is we can construct very complicated data sets to join and aggregate data so that then we can begin reporting on it. And as you can see here, my query is just another table of data, and I can add this into a report, build reporting on this as needed. So queries and raw data tables, guys, are going to be the foundation for how you start to build your Zoho Analytics reporting out. So let's get into the fun part. Let's start making a report. So when you're going to build a report, obviously, as Indy indicated in the CRM, you still need to decide on what is your primary data source. I'm going to add, click the create new button. I'm on my invoices table here. By doing that, Zoho Analytics is going to assume that I'm going to need the invoices table in my report. I can manipulate that as needed, but I'm going to start with the chart view. Zoho Analytics has a wide array of different options, including charts, tabular formats, pivot tables, and we'll go through some of this over the next 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to click new chart view here, guys. And so what I thought is we've got, focus this on financial data. I'm going to kind of come up with a top 10 customers list based upon my invoice data. So that's the mission at hand, and let's start beginning that reporting journey. Something I do want to point out though, if you are reporting on Zoho data sources within Zoho Analytics, Zoho does something that saves a huge amount of time, which I love, is it already understands the relationship of the Zoho data source. So for instance, in your CRM data source, you may have many, many modules that are all connected via lookups. They relate to different things. Zoho Analytics already understands the relationships between these tables, and it will allow us to report across these tables without having to worry about creating any joining. So this is powerful because it means that we can bring fields across different modules, and Zoho will already understand those relationships and ensure that our reporting is accurate. Conversely, though, if you are looking at a custom data source that maybe Zoho Analytics isn't familiar with, then it's likely that you're going to have to build your own relationships between tables so that Zoho Analytics understands the relationship. With that in mind, just drag on grand total in here. Zoho Analytics highlights the cell that it thinks I want to drag this in. Now, massive tip here, guys. Lots of people get stuck in Zoho Analytics thinking about, I want to drag everything on my report and then start, what is it going to look like? My advice here is to always just drag on individual pieces of data into Zoho Analytics Reporting Designer and generate the view so that you can see what the data looks like and you can expand on it as you build your reporting journey. You're discovering the data as you go. I've dragged on my grand total here of invoices. Of course, it's just given me a total of $16 million of data. That is in my data source here. But let's, we want to break this down, right? So we're going to break it down by customer. So I'm going to grab account name. I'll drag that up top here into my x-axis. Every chart needs two axes, being x and y. Generate this, and we get kind of something that looks a little ugly here. We've got lots of customers, so we can see that Zoho Analytics is kind of popping these across in different values, and there's many, many data points. It's not really telling us anything useful. So we're going to have to start to apply some level of like filtering here. Like, how can we isolate those top 10 customers? Now, you've got two filter options here, user filters and filters. Filters here represents behind the scenes filters that you cannot interact with when viewing the report. These are filters that are always going to be applied to my report. User filters, conversely, and we will cover this briefly, is giving you the ability to have dynamic filters that the user can change when they're viewing their report. I'm going to drag in my grand total into filters here, Zoho Analytics does something cool. It recognizes this is a number value and it's saying, okay, well, what aggregates could we show here? And we're gonna choose top 10. And we're gonna say, look, let's just have a look at the top 10 customers. And by doing that, applying that filter, now Zoho Analytics has already taken a lot of the work out for us here. It's now showing me the top 10 customers by invoice value across that area here. So we can see that we've got that data here. And we've got ProCare Garden Maintenance being the top, and then China Coast being down at the bottom 10 there. So we've already started to kind of create this. A couple other things to point out here is we've got the ability to kind of sort. If we did want to be able to sort things across the X and Y axes, we can do that under the sort option, something to consider there as well. We've also got the ability to dynamically change the chart type. So if I wanted to show this as a pie, I can simply click the pie and we have that represented here. So then we can go back to the bar as well. So Zoho Analytics lets you change chart type pretty quickly and pretty easily. Let's add something else to this. What if I want to know the industry that makes up this top 10? I know that industry is a field here in my customer table in CRM, so I'm going to drag this industry, but I'm not going to drag it onto the X and Y axis. I'm going to drag it onto the color cell here. And now what Zoho Analytics does is apply some coloring to this. The bar charts are a bit skinny. We're going to make this a stacked bar to make it look a bit nicer. And so now what we've got here is a representation of my top 10 customers by invoice, colored by industry. And I can see by hovering over the key on the right-hand side here, it's showing me that my top industry is consulting. And of course, there are 3 in this example. Let's save this report now. I'm going to pop it into a folder here. We're going to call this, I think I've got one webinar, and we'll call this top 10 customers by industry. So we've created a report now. When you do that, you can move it into view mode. View mode allows you to see what it would be look like at the user side. So when someone is viewing the report, what does it look like? What are they going to be able to see and interact? When you're looking at something in the view mode, notice how you can dynamically change the chart type. I like this in analytics. You don't need to be set on a chart type at the start. The user can choose to look at the chart in a different way if they wish. We can interact with the legends and turn off, okay, well, I don't want to see any one of these particular industries. I can tick these across here. And then I can left click on any data point and I can have a few options here. I can choose to drill down this option. I can view the underlying data. I even have the ability to leverage some AI now, which will enable me to understand a little bit more about the data that I'm looking at. And this is using the Zoho AI entity Zia, which is a generative AI engine that spreads across the entire Zoho platform. And it's giving me a narrative describing the data point that I'm looking at. And I can have a look at this as text. I can even break this down further graphically. I did no work here. This is all generated by the AI engine, really explaining that particular data point in great detail. So that's using the Ask Zia on a specific data point, which is a pretty powerful feature. We'll definitely touch a little bit more on Zia as we progress. I've got one chart now. Let's have a look at a different type of report. Let's create a pivot report. Maybe chart isn't always the way we want to look at data. Sometimes we want to look at data in a tabular or a more of a numerical style format. I'm going to go back to my baseline invoices table. I'm going to create a new report. And I'm going to click New Pivot. So pivot being if you're familiar with Excel, we've got columns and rows. That represents a pivot style report. I want totals by industry this time, but I want to know kind of what is the composition of invoices, how many invoices make up this value. So we're going to grab the industry from my accounts module. I'm going to drag this straight into rows and I'm going to generate. Remembering we're always generating to get a feel for what the report is generating. Produce my list of industries, nothing surprising there. I want to know the total dollar value of invoices against these industries. I'm going to grab my invoicing total here. I'm going to drag this across into my data, meaning the sum. So this is the numerical, the aggregated formula. I'm going to generate that. Starting to get something a little bit more useful here. We've got industry by grand total, and I've got grand total down the bottom. So I can start to see what makeup of those industries are. What if I wanted now to know how many invoices made up that total? So to do that, we essentially need to count invoices, right? We need to add up the number of invoices that make up that total. So to do that, we know that the invoice number is unique. Hopefully, if you have a modern finance system, you're never going to have two invoices that are the same. So we're going to grab the invoice number field, and I'm going to kind of drag it over here. We want to add it up, and I'm going to click generate. Actually, I've dragged the wrong one, so I'm going to get rid of sales order. I was a little bit heavy with my mouse there. I'm going to drag invoice number across and hit generate. But we notice something a little odd here, guys. We notice that it's adding up the total of invoices, right? So we're actually summing all of our invoice numbers together. It's not really what we want. Notice the little drop down here on the invoice number pill, or the little invoice number pill in the shelf, as they call it here. I can pull this drop down. I can see there is a lot more aggregate style formulas. By default, Zoho Analytics wants us to use sum because it thinks there's numbers. Why don't you add them up? Of course, that's not always going to be relevant. And you can see here a huge array of different calculations, averages, medians. You can have minimum and maximums, percentiles. All of these features can be used to represent those numerical values in a different manner. I'm interested in count. I want to add up the number, not add up, just count the number. So I'm going to choose count normal, and I'm going to hit generate. So now we're counting the number of invoices, and suddenly the invoice amount looks a little bit, the invoice count looks a little bit more realistic. And we can see here that there are 1,300 invoices that make up the 16 million in total here. I'm going to save this report now. We're going to call this totals by industry with count. With invoice count would be a better description. And I'm going to save this in my formula. Don't underestimate the value of having a great report title, especially if you aren't the person viewing the report. It might make sense to you, but if you're building the report for somebody else to look at, think clearly about describing what that report has in it. It'll make the understanding of the reporting a lot easier. We can now see that we have our columns here, but maybe I want to just invoice number count. I don't like the name of that. We can actually click on the top here. I'm going to call this total number of invoices. Just a little bit better description here. Okay. We're going to give this a bit of a theme. Let's add it and make it a different color. You can do these things in Zoho Analytics. We can give things a little bit of a flair here, make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for the eye. I'm going to save this now, and now we have a second report. We've created two reports, guys. We've got visualizations using charts, and then we've got tabular or columnized and pivot-based reports using a different chart type. What if we want to now bind these together on a dashboard, which everybody loves, a beautiful looking dashboard? We want to bring these things together onto a singular dashboard. To do that, we're going to click on the new button, and we're going to come down here to dashboard. Now, a dashboard in Zoho Analytics is not a report in of itself. It is simply just a collection of reports presented together on a single dashboard. Pretty easy to drag this in. I can kind of find my formula, and I can drag in my report onto the canvas here, and I'm going to drag in my other one underneath, starting to make this look useful. I can make this go across the page here. I can drag this out and make it a little bigger. And I can do the same with here. And we're starting to see things across here that's looking a little bit nicer, a bit neater, making sense to me. Dashboards also have another feature, which is a widget. Widget is not as dynamic as a report, but they're great for a dashboard, and they can have quick visual indicators to some data on a dashboard. I do this under the Elements tab, and I'm going to choose Widget. Oh, lost my dashboard. I've got to actually drag it on, Sam. I've got to drag it across here. A widget is much like Indy showed us in CRM. It's a little pre-canned, pre-designed total. So I can say here that we're going to have a bullet chart. I'm going to do like, let's have invoice, total, and just apply that there. Now we've got like a nice little widget here, which kind of indicates that. And then I can come across and drag widget, drag another widget on, and we can create this one as like a little indicator here. And let's just add, we'll do the same thing. It's all invoicing focused. So we're going to come down here, we're choosing things. So think of this as like just a little quick visual indicator of something that allows us to put the data in at the top of my dashboard in front of my my viewer, make it easy to understand what's going on. I'm going to do this one by month and year. So we're comparing the invoice total across periods, compare the current with the latter, so we can see that it's, differences down from the previous period. This is just an example, guys, of the ways that we can make our reporting and dashboarding make sense. I'm also going to come across the top here and I'm going to add a title. I'm going to say this Zoho Analytics webinar dashboard. Make this a little bigger. Make it colorful. Probably go like this. So now, guys, we're starting to get something that looks nice and professional. I can save this in my folder. I now have a working dashboard that I can view. This is what everybody wants. I think we've kind of gone through the motions of creating the individual charts and putting together a dashboard that makes sense. Now, one element that this is great, it looks fine. We're seeing some useful information on here. However, we can't interact with it. It's static in nature. Generally speaking, we want to create a dashboard which allow people the ability to kind of view the data in a way that's more meaningful. So I'm going to edit my dashboard here, and I'm going to go down to user filters. We briefly talked about user filters, which is the ability to provide a dynamic filter for people to interact with when viewing the data. So for instance, maybe I don't always want to be looking at every piece of invoice data. Maybe we want to grab the created date, the invoice date, and allow the user the ability to filter based upon the time, the date. So now I've got a dynamic filter in here. The way that Zoho Analytics, they changed this recently, which I actually like, is filters appear above the reports that will be affected by the filter. Everything above the filter is not affected by the filter. So here I can now say, okay, well, look, I want to just show from, July 24, because I think my data is 2024 data, and I'm going to say July to December, and I can apply that here. And now we are seeing a real-time filter applied to the data on my analytics dashboard. And this really then creates that level of interactivity that let people view and interact with the data as necessary. And these are all the aspects that are really going to make things a little bit easier when you're reporting, viewing that data here. Getting close to the end, guys. We've got a few more minutes to run through and a couple of other things. So thanks for sticking it out so far. Hopefully it's been useful. We're going to now go over to the themes. If you want to make your dashboard look different, you've got the ability to do that here. Zoho Analytics has a bunch of pre-canned kind of options. I always like the dark mode. I think the dark mode looks pretty cool. So we're going to make it black and sort of colorful. I can see that this kind of looks kind of nice now, looks a bit more mysterious. And I've also got the ability to share the data here as well. So I can share this with a colleague just as a link that maybe they don't have access to the source application, but they want to have access to there. I can share this. I can make this view public. So if I wanted to publish this and share it with someone who has no access to Zoho at all, I can generate a public link. Of course, it is public, so it will be visible on the internet if you do that. And of course, I can email this dashboard. I'm always have mixed emotions about emailing things. I think the world is full of too much email already. Sending someone a simple link to view the dashboard is much more powerful than sending them a static image or a PDF of the dashboard, but you have that option should you wish. You can also embed this if you wanted to embed this on a portal or a web page. You can do that. And I can actually even create a slideshow from this using the Zoho Show. So I've got a few distribution options here, which really do allow us to share this data around with the relevant parties as necessary. So a few options there for distributing the data as necessary. Okay, so I'm going to save my report now. I'm very happy with all of that. I want to talk about something slightly more advanced. I'm going to pop out this here, this report here, and I'm going to come into the edit design. And I want to talk to you about the settings under this. And this is a new feature that even if you are advanced in Zoho Analytics, you may not be aware of this. Is what we can do is we can put thresholds. So I can say, I want to know about my customers that break the $100,000 invoice total. I'm going to call this top customers. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in a data point in my report here, and I'm saying that I want to know when customers are hitting this threshold. And I can see there are two, okay? But what I really love about this as a new feature is this little alarm bell here. Is now you can actually set up alerts that allow you to trigger an email or a Teams message or even a notification in Slack based upon when your data reaches or hits or drops below a specific point. So if you want to set up data point alerts in your analytics system, you can now do that to trigger reminders, to trigger important messages to you or your team when you think specific data points are being met or not being met. So this is a pretty powerful feature using the threshold concept to set those data points alerts on a specific report. How often, whether you want it hourly, whether you want it daily or monthly, a great way, build the report and have it alert you when certain things are happening. So a nice little kind of advanced feature there. I'll go back to my dashboard now. Likewise, on any dashboard, I've got the Zia Insights option, some AI functionality for you here. I can click Zia Insights, and Zia is going to do a nice little, give me a nice little wrap up of the entire report within there. I can start to see some narrative around that. It can explain it to me if you're trying to understand what is that chart representing. Zoho's generative AI Zia will tell you that in some language, and I can also ask for graphical representation of that as well. It kind of breaks that down further for you, so you've got a few options there. And I want to wrap up over the last couple of minutes with the Ask Zia generative AI feature directly in Zoho Analytics. We just went through creating some reports based upon dragging data points onto Zoho Analytics and building them out. You can actually kickstart this whole process using the generative AI feature inside of Zoho Analytics. So perhaps I would just say here, you can be polite if you wish. Hi, Zia, show me total by industry. I can type out that option there. And now what Zia is going to do is take that language and start generating charts based upon the prompt that you've given it. So we haven't done anything else, simply just asking a question of the AI engine and have it starting to generate these reports here. Now, what I really like about this, you can also dictate this, by the way, guys. I won't do it on the webinar today, but you can actually ask by voice. If you have the Zoho Analytics app on your phone. You can ask Zia by voice to generate you some data. Is it always going to get you exactly what you want? Probably not, but it's probably going to get you started. And this is something that I really like. I can go, look, okay, that is kind of looking close to what I'm asking for here. So then I can come up to this particular chart and I can just simply hit edit. And now I'm actually already kickstarted the building of that report, but it was kickstarted by the AI. So now I've already accelerated my journey of building that, and I can go, do you know what? Yeah, this is actually not looking too bad. And I can just move that industry there. And now I'm starting to get something that looks like what I wanted. And I've already started the journey. So I use the AI agent to kickstart the reporting journey here. And then I can edit this and continue and refine. So I definitely encourage you, if you are a Zoho Analytics user, is to start asking Zia some questions. It's going to have better experience with Zoho related applications. And obviously the more that you interact with Zia on your data sources, the better that the accuracy is going to be. Is it always going to be perfect? No, I don't think any AI is quite there yet, but you have the ability to kickstart your reporting journey using the Zia engine. So guys, hopefully this was useful. We're nearly out of time, so I want to kind of just cast my eyes back to the chat and just see if anyone has any questions that may need to be answered. Doesn't look like it. Catherine is raising her hand. I love that. It's very polite, Catherine. Shoot. Few people, just type your questions in the chat, guys, and I've got a few minutes here, so if you want to just kind of quickly pop in a question in the chat, you can do so, and I will be sure to try and answer those in the last few minutes. Hopefully today was useful, guys. You saw something of it. Yeah, could the threshold alert be relative? Yeah, you are right. Like I just kind of checked the specific threshold, but you could say, within the current month or the current year, you can kind of create some relative style reports in there. It definitely has some limitations, but yes, you can create relative threshold alerts. So great question there. I'm just going to share my last slide, guys. I know we're wrapping up for today. And I will stick around and ask any last questions here. Scheduled reports are CRO limited to 2,000 rows. Should you replicate a report in analytics and use a snapshot? Interesting question from Sally. So you definitely can do a snapshot. We didn't cover that as well. So a snapshot is literally a point in time where you can do that. So if you're worried about your data moving and you want a snapshot of that data, you can set up a snapshot, perhaps something I should cover in a future webinar. You are right, though. You are hitting those limits of the scheduled reports and the number of rows it can generate. So Zoho Analytics can give you a better there. A great option here, though, is to just schedule an email to send someone a link to the analytical report rather than an actual PDF in there. Christy has set up analytics in our Zoho One. No worries, Christy. We can take a look at that for you. It means that we probably haven't added Zoho Analytics in your Zoho One instance. It's been kind of added separately, so you should definitely have that. I'll reach out to you after this, see if we can help that out. Hey Sue, thanks. We're creating Zoho Creator and getting data for our clients using analytics. Yeah, great question from Tawana there around, using Zoho Creator and get data for our clients using analytics. So you can expose Zoho Analytics report to the public. And if you do want to have a customer portal in Zoho Analytics, that is also possible. There might be some licensing considerations, but you can expose your data to external parties like your customers via Zoho Analytics. So a lot of options to explore there, Suana. All right, guys, we're almost on the hour. I do appreciate your time today and thank you for your attention. I certainly hope you gained some insights from our webinar today. Of course, if you like our content, you would like to see some more, or you'd like to share some feedback, our social channels are up on the screen now. YouTube is where you'll find more videos like this, more webinars, etc. Also on our Knowledge Hub on the Ardento website. Check out LinkedIn. If you don't follow me or our company on LinkedIn, I suggest you do so. That would be the social platform where we share the most. I really appreciate your attention today, guys, and I wish you the best for the day ahead. Stay tuned for future webinars. Thanks very much.